Welcome to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that researches the benefits of role playing games in all formats for their educational, therapeutic, entertainment, and leisure activities.
yes.
So our first part is just talking.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
First topic I want to cover
Mm-hmm.
is Kickstarter. Dorkness Falls. This
Yes.
is Gamers 4.
Mm-hmm.
It is the last of the series that started years ago. I think the last one was 10 years ago.
So there was Darkness, Darkness Rising, Darkness
Hands of Fate.
Mm-hmm. And now we've got Darkness Falls.
Right.
And I know that in our training we use a lot of Darkness Rising in training because they hit so many different things about the geek culture and the role-playing culture and many of the aspects that we point out in training.
Yeah, it's things like stereotypes, things like small group dynamics.
Yep. Flow theory.
Definitely flow theory gets covered there.
Mm-hmm.
Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
All those things of seeing how a actual group deals with things like change.
Yeah.
And actually intentionally changing the way you play.
Yeah. By the way, not all conflict resolution requires waffles.
No, waffles is just the reward.
Yes.
Waffles!
Waffles!
All right, so if you go to Kickstarter, you will find the Gamers for Darkness Rising.
Yeah.
And right now they're at 321,460 of their $500,000 goal.
So more than halfway.
They're almost 60%.
Good. How much do they have left? How much longer do they have left?
They have 12 days left.
12 days left.
It's important. We need this final show to cover everything together. And what makes this story different? It's an isekai. Why is an isekai different? Well, an isekai is different in this series.
Is there going to be? Do we have confirmation that Truck-kun is going to be there?
We don't have confirmation. They have to get the rise to the 500,000.
Okay,
but it's been threatened. I mean, it's been hinted.
That Truck-kun's going to be there.
Yeah,
wonderful. It can't be a proper isekai without Truck-kun.
Yeah, the people that are going to be there are. It's the actual players.
Mm-hmm.
And so the players have been transported to their world. They don't have any extra powers. In fact, their only superpower is player knowledge.
Uh-huh. You know what? I've seen isekais built off of less.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of D&D players' fantasy to go into an isekai. My personal fantasy is to go into certain modules where I've already read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to get isekai, let me already know where every trap and treasure is.
Mm-hmm.
I'll live a little bit longer. Okay.
That does remind me of a thing that I've seen in terms of isekai a lot. Where if you're introduced into if you were isekais, what's the first thing that you're going to do? Check my stats and see what's wrong with me.
Right. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull out their character sheets and see, like, oh my gosh.
If I don't have a status screen to figure out what's wrong with me, I'm not sure if I'm going to want it.
Well, once you're isekai, you're there.
Yeah.
So I pledged on this. Hawk is pledged on this, and we need everybody who can pledge to pledge on this. If you can't afford to pledge, then please, at the very least, spread the word. Let people know this. Just for me, I personally really want to watch the show.
Yeah.
All right. So, what would you like to talk about?
Well, I know that later today we are going to be talking about the romance genre, which I have been doing a lot of research on.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see here. Kind of blanking.
All right.
I've just been doing a lot of research on the romance genre and the different things that are going to be going into that, but we'll talk about that later.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's going around, and a lot of people on YouTube, Reddit,
Oh yeah, the
have
44.
already talked about
Yeah.
this. It's the 44 rules for D&D.
Yeah.
And the original post, which I have provided a link for, has been deleted. The comments are all there,
Mm-hmm.
but the original posts have been deleted.
I can understand why though.
Yep. And I have an archived version of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is missing the part where it says my DM sent this as an email
Yeah.
to all of us after he returned from hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
And so the player posted these rules. They did not. The DM did not post these to the rules to the thing.
Right.
Now, a lot of people say there are problems with these 44 rules.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a good chunk of the problems is attitude
Yeah.
and delivery of the message.
Mm-hmm.
A big chunk of these rules are or can be made into reasonable,
Right.
but not the way they're presented.
Yeah. Although I have I did see one breakdown of the rules where, as you go through the rules, it kind of if you look into the intentions of the rules, it shows kind of like a devolving of relations between these people, and it
Yeah.
gets back to one of the things that I truly believe in. And I'm on Reddit enough, on the D&D Reddits and the RPG Reddits enough to say, that this is a common thing. Bad D&D/bad role-playing games. No role-playing games is better than bad role-playing games. It is better to leave the game than have it ruined or just be in a really bad situation.
How it ruins your friendship.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And it, like you said, this was a response after it becomes obvious as you read through the rules
Yeah.
that this is a response to a DM that was pushed too far.
Yes, absolutely.
First clue, he went on a hiatus before he came back with these rules. And he was obviously still angry when he wrote this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these 44 rules.
Line by line.
And we're not going to try to finish all of them today.
No.
If we don't get through them all, next week we'll continue them because we want to discuss the rule, what it means to us, how we think it can be fixed,
Yeah.
why it's important, and if we can, we will find reference into it in our code of conduct. rpgresearch.com/COC, which is short for code of conduct.
Which I have right here.
There's a written copy right there. These are how we expect players and GMs to act at our games.
Yes.
Now, we're also going to talk about a lot of this stuff can be solved in Session 0. We're not going to try to get too deep into Session 0 today. We are going to bring up parts of it as it fits in the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that when we get to safety tools next week, we may want to talk more about Session 0. The biggest thing that Hawk argues about Session 0 is the name, because the name indicates that there is no role-playing happening in that session. And I agree there should be some. You have a 4-hour session.
Yeah.
Typical. A lot of them are just 3 hours or 2.5 hours. But if you're having your first section, your Session 0 shouldn't take 4 hours.
Yeah.
Unless you are creating characters on the spot.
And this is one of the things that I've kind of, I've discussed with the Hawk about it, where there's a concept of Session 0, and then there is the first session, which if all you're doing is building characters, then some people argue that that's Session 0. But as a GM, I prefer to get with every player individually before the game ever starts to discuss, okay, what are your plans for the character and whatnot, so that a lot of that stuff is hashed out before we ever get to the table, so that, okay, even if we're spending some time, making characters, at least we've got an idea. This is what we want to play. This is how we can flesh it out, and we can quickly get to, at the very least, well, you guys are at the tavern. What are you guys doing? To at least know each other.
And Session 0s are also a thing I'm just calling it for the lack of a better name.
Yeah,
But session zeros are a thing that is more appropriate for campaigns.
absolutely, yes.
Pugs, pickup
Yeah,
games.
that's not happening.
Yeah, the best you can do is provide pre-generated characters or have pre-posted rules on the generation of the character, like Adventures League, Dungeons and Dragons Adventures League, or
Yeah.
Pathfinder Society. That's what they call it.
I mean,
Pathfinder
I
Society.
feel like if you've got a Discord where you're hosting games and whatnot, you just have an area called Session Zero, and that's where you list all the rules and whatnot to play in these hosted games.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like if you're at a convention or something, and I have pre-generated characters, I will pre-advertise any rules that are going to be different.
Yeah.
At the game, I warn homebrew, or I will warn trigger warnings.
Yep.
Those kind of things before people get there. But that's the difference between PUBG. So let's dig into this because we don't have a lot of time.
Yep.
Rule number 1: I am timing turns. I don't give a blank if it's unfair in your opinion, cause your spells are hard, or you don't know what square to move to. You get 1 minute to know all the actions you want to take, or I skip your turn. First problem with this: hostility.
Yes.
This is, again, he was obviously angry still when he wrote this. But as a rule, that you have 1 minute to take your turn when your turn comes up is not a horrible rule.
Yeah.
It's actually, especially the more players you have, the more time limits. Think about it. You have 5 players at the table, not including the GM. That's 5 minutes of time. And then the GM has however long he needs for all of the other monsters that he has. And I've had 20 monsters on a table all at once.
I mean, I feel like 1 minute is actually pretty decent, because if people get into the pattern of like, okay, I've got 1 minute, while other people are taking their turns, they're thinking, okay, what am I doing next? And that helps engagement. But there's some inherent hostility with the way he
it's definitely the hostility that gives this a no-go. Without the hostility, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he doesn't have 8 players, because then that makes an 8-minute turn.
Yeah.
But again, I've had people argue that
exactly, it is how it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. Yeah, that is an important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I have had players that like, oh, I knew what I was going to do until so and so did something that just erased my entire plan.
Yeah.
But you that 1 minute, if you're paying attention, you can adapt. You have a minute to tell us what you're going to do. I'm going to, as a GM, I'm going to allow you an expanded little amount of time if you're being descriptive. I do a pirouette with my rapier spinning over my head as I plunge it deep into his foot. That's a little okay. And I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway for that.
Yeah.
I also want to encourage you to be paying attention to what's happening at the table and thinking about your turn. If you're at least doing that, then that 1 minute is really not that long.
Yeah.
It's the person who has to be told, what, we're in combat?
But this is something that, and I've seen it done before, where, without the aggressive tone, you say, okay, at this table, because there's so many people and we have a limited, time, and we've had this at some of the, community games, everyone has only 1 minute.
Yep.
If you are not paying attention during that 1 minute, you will be skipped.
I've had when you're skipped, you're allowed to say, you're about to lose your turn. I take the dodge action. I take a perception check. If you know you're not going to be able to do anything else, jump in with perception check or dodge action, and then go on. It's okay that you spent a round being confused. That's what happens in real life. You don't mind if you look up and find anything about one of these things in our rules, but the audience can look up our code of conduct and find things for themselves.
We do have take turns and paying attention, avoid distractions. on page 7.
Right. So again, it's already covered in our code of conduct that we published beforehand, and we have on our webpage, so that people know what to expect. Now, number 2, if you want harder fights, bring a second character sheet and expect to twiddle your thumbs when you die. I'm not going to baby anyone. All right. I have a rep.
Yes, you do.
And
You do.
most of my rep is from pugs and conventions.
Yeah.
My actual campaigns, I've actually had a player says, I know you have a rep. Why are we still alive? And this gets into if you want harder games. Well, you let people know that. You when you're talking, it says, how difficult is combat going to be?
Yeah.
How is this like? I have a game where I've told them, guess what? A short rest is 8 hours. A long rest is 7 days.
Yeah. But you have to set that up at the very beginning if that's not what they're expecting.
Right. They have to be known.
Yeah.
And my death rolls, you only have to succeed once. But every time you fail, you get a level of exhaustion.
Oh, I remember you talking. I came up with. Have you been testing that out?
Oh, I've been using it.
How's it panned out?
It really makes a party member who goes down, makes the other party members jump in as quickly as possible to save that person.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to. One day we're gonna have to get into some of the homebrew stuff that we've done, because this is something that I've.
We should write our own homebrew home book.
So basically, the idea that I had was I was kind of tired of the in D&D the whole yo-yoing effect of I go down, healing word, and they're right back up. So I said, okay, let's get rid of the death saving throws. No more 3 and you die. But every failed one is a level of exhaustion.
Yeah. So you got 6 chances to die.
Yeah.
And all you need is 1 success.
But you know what? If you come up after, say, 2 or 3 fails, well, it's going to take a couple of days to properly get rid of those levels of exhaustion, or someone's burning a greater restoration just for that. It is now significantly harder to come back.
So what do I do if I'm a cleric and I want to help somebody get stabilized so they don't get level of exhaustion? Well, first of all, I can do Spare the Dying.
Oh, suddenly that quote-unquote useless spell is a lot more useful, because we got Spare the Dying, just so that they don't get that level of exhaustion.
Right. The other one to do that I've never seen anybody do.
Healing packs?
No.
What?
Guidance.
Can you do guidance on a death saving throw?
It's a skill roll, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure.
No, it's not a skill roll. It's a straight D20 roll.
Is it a saving? It's a saving throw.
No, it's not a saving throw.
It's a death saving throw.
It's a death saving throw, which is not a saving throw. You do not add your Constitution modifier to it. It's a straight D20 roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I've let people use their.
And I'm not going to judge your games. That's you.
Well, I haven't even done this.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever tried to use guidance. People have used their inspiration. But I haven't seen anybody try to use bless or any of those other things to try to get a better roll.
I think there's some interesting things that can be done there.
Yeah, with
and
Spare
flavor
the
that
Dying,
can attach to it.
Of course, if you don't take Spare the Dying, you only get 3 cantrips at the beginning. So, okay, so moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
If you call my rolls unfair, I get up and go home, and if you got a ride with me, you can find your own way back and suck it up. Again, did we get to the harder fights? Fatal thumb when you're dead? Yeah. Yes, I've had players that have asked for more challenging combat.
And then they learn about your reputation.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I use books like the Monsters Know What They're Doing. If you could find a link for that, that would be great.
Yeah.
I also use logical tactics based on their mentalities and things like that. And trust me, kobolds can take out a level 20 group.
Oh, there are stories about that, and I've learned. Well, I mean, you have a reputation of TPKs. I feel, if anything, I have a reputation of people finding out very quickly that there are consequences to their actions.
Right. We'll get
Good
back
and
to
bad.
that later.
Yes.
But now, back to the rolls on fair. I'll get up and go home. This is, again, hostility.
Yep.
But you should trust your dungeon master.
If you don't, then why are you playing with them?
Right. We're supposed, according to our rule set for RPG research, we're supposed to have the screen up to hide our dice rolls. Well, I will sometimes roll on the other side of the screen because it's such a dramatic moment.
Yeah.
That they get to see that die. But one of the advantages of it is that I will cheat.
Mm-hmm.
I will fake my die rolls.
Oh, yeah.
You, as players, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But me as a dungeon master, and your dungeon master might do it for the same way. Oh, that natural 20? Nah, it's just a regular hit. And,
I'm not going to...
only 1 point of damage. Or, how many hit points do you have left? I have 5. Too bad he just lost 4 of them. The dice that I actually rolled says that you're not only dead, your ancestors are in pain.
Yeah. So, and this is this, and I feel like this gets to the heart of the 44 rules, where we talk about in our training the adversarial GMs. We are not training people to be adversarial GMs.
No.
Being an adversarial GM inherently, I feel, causes bad games. All of these rules are the GM is now adversarial.
And whether or not it's because he's a jerk or because of the players,
yeah.
When we get into an adversarial situation like this, we have a dysfunctional game that needs to discuss, not rah, 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 but to actually have a discussion. What is it that you want out of the game?
Yeah.
Are you here for combat? Are you here for storytelling?
Yeah.
Are you here to flirt with the barmaid?
Yeah.
Or the minotaur? Whatever your taste happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
Are you here for delicious in the dungeon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or exploratory. That kind of thing. What are we here for? Let's make it there. But back to 3. Don't accuse the dungeon master of cheating. If he's cheating, he's doing it for you. Or the story.
Well, if you're in it, if the relationship you have with your GM is one of built on trust.
Correct.
If you don't trust the GM,
you shouldn't probably be playing.
Yeah, either that or it's one of those you happen to be like trying to do a pickup game. This is your first time dealing with the GM, and you're probably, I wouldn't suggest playing with that GM ever again. As I said earlier,
I think that the GM has to be. I have a player. He's always complaining how my dice hate him.
Yeah.
The problem is, mathematically speaking, my dice hate him, and it is the dice. He sees my rolls most of the time, and my dice tend to pick on him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. It's just the dice are.
Now, as someone who tends to prefer the the role of science over just about anything else, I have evidence from people who have seen my RNG that my RNG sucks. I don't know why.
You're using acronyms again.
Oh, random number generation, which includes rolling of dice, but it's not just the rolling of dice. It's if it's left up the chance for me, the average is it's going to suck.
Hawk is worse than you.
And
rolled
Hawk is
6 nat ones in a row in a combat.
Hearth has seen it.
Yeah.
Where every day, like for example, we'll be playing Mario Kart, and with that, oh look, I'm getting
a random prize,
a random thing to use, and I'll be in like 7th place and get a coin.
Right. Nothing that help you.
Nothing that I can use. Like really, at this level, I should be getting blue shells, and no. It just sucks. And Hawk is worse than me.
Right.
I've seen Hawk roll 3 1s consecutively. That's bad.
Rule number 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your character loot away as regular as you want it given out. Rule 3 applies here. If you call me or my rules unfair. If you tell me I'm being unfair, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
That's not a way to do it.
No.
You need to have a discussion with these people.
Mm-hmm.
You need to say, yes, I'm going to do things that are unfair to you, like the door, the wall sliding in between the parties and separating them.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfair, but it's also part of the story.
Right.
Haunted houses are no fun if everybody gets to stay grouped up.
Well, no, I can think of some scenarios where everyone's still together and they're just going to be, it's going to be group trauma at that point.
Right.
But at one of the community games, I was running the prelude to Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and this is getting into. I told them right at the beginning because it's a community game, and some of these people are very young.
Oh,
I told them right off at the bat, before they ever started playing. At some point in this game, I'm going to take something from you. Let's discuss what I'm going to take from you. And we had that discussion. Right. And when it happened, yeah, they knew what they were going to lose. They just didn't know how they were going to lose it.
Now, again, though, if you're taking character loot away, it should serve the story, not you're getting too much loot, I'm going to grab things.
Yeah.
Even if that's your background motivation, it should fit the story. You lost your gear because you were arrested. You lost your gear because one of the events on the event here is that your magic item gets destroyed or stolen by the ghosts. And what I'm going to do, even though it doesn't say I have to do this in the story, you got that sentient axe that you love so much, and
you didn't treat it with respect.
Oh no, that wasn't the problem.
That wasn't the problem.
A random roll came up; it was destroyed. I say, okay, there are ways within this story to get it back.
I remember one game where there was, and you helped me with some of this, where due to some misunderstanding of what the consequences were going to be, a player ended up using a high-level spell to quote-unquote disperse a crowd, but didn't realize that there was some damage attached to it and how little hit points commoners have.
Right.
So, he thought it was just going to disperse them. No, now it's a tragedy, and it led to a court case. Well, yeah, they won the court case, but it wasn't like, we win. It was a Pyrrhic victory because instead of, a character being, thrown in jail or anything, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be a fine.
Yeah, it's like a riot police throwing an actual grenade.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it worked, but you are never going to be a police officer again.
Hopefully, if that happens. Yeah. It ended up, one of the fines was they lost a magic item.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are reasons for taking magic items. It shouldn't be as much as you want me to give you. You're not trying to keep that balance. I mean, you can keep that balance.
Yeah.
And that is your job to keep that balance. And one of the ways to do that is just, you got the big artifact?
Yeah.
Great. Nothing else shows up for a while.
Yeah.
Or, you have to tell them, hey, you can't carry a 15th axe.
Well, what if I have demiplane?
No.
I'm going to store all my axes in the demiplane.
You're not carrying it then.
True. Okay.
All right. So let's say here, 5.
Yep.
You don't act out your persuasion or intimidation or other social checks. You fail. Before you even roll, you fail immediately because you aren't even trying and you make the game lame for everyone else.
There's a problem with this one.
Well, it is. One is because it's the carrot, it's the stick, not the carrot.
Yeah, there's that.
Also, not everybody can emote, role play, do voices.
That's why I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So, full disclosure, I have a background in animation. One of the things that I did as a part of training to be an animator was I took improv classes. And I distinctly remember in those improv classes that it felt like there was a palpable veil that I had to like, and it felt like I could feel the emotional pressure of doing improv,
Right.
and I knew that I had to get through it, but it wasn't easy. And I know that it's not easy for everyone. It's not fair to expect that of everyone, even if it's called a role-playing game.
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot expect, especially earlier in the game,
Right.
you cannot expect a player to do voices and to role play things. But I can expect me say, okay, I want to try to persuade him. Tell me what
Yeah,
you're
that
trying
does
to
help.
persuade him. I don't ask you to do a voice, but tell me what you're asking for.
Right.
And then we can build up. I'm going to use voices to encourage you to use voices.
Right.
And I'm going to reward you when you start using voices. I'm going to reward you when you start trying to act out your. You don't have to successfully act it out,
Yeah.
but you're looking for a reward for trying it, not a threat that if I don't do this, I am going to automatically fail everything because I can't sing. That's not fair.
Yeah, that is absolutely not fair. So, if anything, I'd rework this where we want to use more carrots than sticks. If you roll, if you act out the persuasion checks, maybe I give you advantage. Me personally, as a player, I've been in certain situations where I was using a deception check. The GM didn't realize I was using a deception check because my role playing was that good. This is when I was playing Andre,
Right.
and I was bluffing the big bad evil guy, thinking because I was playing a Russian KGB, he thought that I was actually going to betray my party. So he never had me roll on it.
Right.
It wasn't until I pulled the rug out from under him that I realized, oh, this is all a lie. I bluffed the GM.
And that is okay. That's actually one of the things.
Yeah.
Is if
it's
as
good
a
enough,
reward,
you don't roll.
it can be you get advantage or you get a certain plus, or I change the difficulty level based on it. But it also can be, I've had players give me trying to do a persuasion and give me a perfectly logical and sound reason why they should do it.
Yeah.
And there's no die roll.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. The character that you're talking to would have been convinced.
Yeah.
By what you said. No roll, you succeed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On the other hand, I have done no, nobody would ever believe that. No roll, you fail because your deception check was that you claimed that a purple elephant flew in here and burned the house down.
See, what I would do sometimes is, because, sometimes people just want to roll. If you give me something that's completely outlandish, okay, yeah, go ahead and roll.
Another thing...
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and roll. What is the roll for on my part? I want to know how hard they're going to laugh.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how long you're going to spend in jail for that.
Yeah. Yeah, potion of glibness, it can be powerful if it's not moderated properly. It doesn't mean that, you can go up and say, like, I'm a horse, and people are going to believe you.
Right. It has
and
to
maybe
be...
I'm a horse, and that's funny, move on.
But if you came in and said, I'm a horse, and I've been transformed by a witch into this awful form, you have a better chance.
What if instead of a horse, you were a newt? You got better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing to deal with when you're talking about role-playing,
yeah,
and whether or not to roll for it, is you have to realize that my character has an 18 charisma. I have a 7. So, no, not mine in real life. I have a 13.
Yeah. On good days.
Yeah. On good days, I have a 13.
Yeah.
On bad days, I have a 6. Because I can sound very robotic. But the point is, your character's abilities outstretch yours.
Yeah.
When you tell somebody to lift the portcullis, the gate between two parts of a castle, you don't ask the player to go lift 75 pounds over their head
right.
just to prove they can do it. or the player to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You roll the dice to see if they can do it.
Yeah.
If my character is not as smart as or is smarter than I am, or is more charismatic than I am, then I should be able to tell you what my intent is and let the dice make up for my player shortcomings.
I would actually argue along the same lines because we were talking about mysteries last week.
Yeah.
And puzzles. You know, some people aren't really good at puzzles. Have their characters make intelligence checks to solve it if you know, for that scenario.
Well, an investigation check.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing the One Ring role playing, you're going to make a riddle check.
Yeah.
I tried that as a kid. I wanted to try to roll for riddles, and it didn't work because every riddle I gave him, he goes, "It's a fish." Yes, it's a fish. He was doing the riddles like this.
Yeah, some people have a knack for that.
And he was doing really good. Okay, what we were on? If you don't act out 6.
Yeah.
If you don't pick up cues for side quests, that's not my problem. Get over yourself. It's not a video game. It's a role-playing, pen and paper-based game with miniatures. I'm not holding your hand if you choose not to pursue blank. Now, yes.
I think that's fair.
It is fair, but you have a responsibility to present things. If you, it's different than if the player chooses not to follow your hook, than if the player didn't understand there was a hook in the first place.
Yeah.
And if the player doesn't understand there's a hook, that's the DM's fault.
Yeah. So, I mean, this gets into the concept of the social contract.
Right.
So, okay, if you're coming to a game and the GM says, I am running, what, Rhyme of the Ice Maiden.
Yes.
Right? And you know that this is what the game master is running, and then you purposely avoid everything, you're breaking that social contract at that point.
Right. I've had players sit down and they says, I'm going to try to break things. And I says, you go ahead. You go ahead and try to break things.
Yeah.
Consequences are consequences. And, you know, they learned firsthand. It's like, yeah, I'm going to punch Bilbo. Bilbo releases the hounds. You need a new character.
Yeah. There are consequences to actions. Yeah. And there's also, you know, some players I feel have this expectation of they do not want to engage with the metagame. And I'm not talking about like, okay, how are you power building your characters and whatnot, but okay, when full disclosure, when I run my games, I don't have a problem talking to my players about, okay, this is what I'm dealing with at this point. In fact, recently, I was running Wild Beyond the Witchlight, finally completed it, by the way.
Yay!
For the most part, I enjoyed it. That last chapter was a complete shift. I did not like how they built that dungeon. And you know what? I expressed it to my players. And they understood that. So they understood that, okay, it is going to be a bit choppy. They allowed for that.
Right.
They understood that, okay, this is how things are supposed to be. This is how it was how it was listed. I'm changing this. And
Rule 0. You can change whatever you want, and you don't have to tell them. Because the only way they should know that you changed how the module was written, they're cheating.
Right. But I also like having that rapport with my players where they know that I'm not infallible. They can always approach me. I'm not adversarial. And sometimes I have these challenges as a GM. Because here's the thing. Ultimately, as a GM, I want people to enjoy the game so much that maybe they want to run a game as well.
Right.
But if they always like, oh, I'm always the player, and they never see some of the challenges that I have as a game master, maybe they think, okay, I'm all powerful, all knowledgeable. No. Half the stuff that I pull, I'm pulling it off the top of my head.
Yep. And I change things constantly for my story purposes or whatever I want, just because I need to do. All right, so side quest. That's fine. If you move to a square in combat, there are no takebacks.
This is the chess rule where basically you pick up the piece and it's it's yeah.
Once your finger leaves the miniature, you're done. That can be legit in some ways. It depends on the level of tactician you're playing the game at.
Yeah.
I always get asked this question, what will happen if I do this? And I said, do it and find out. But we have people with lasers on some of my games that use it to count out the squares before they move. And they're doing that before their turn. So they know where they want to go and they can change it there. But I do agree with you. Once you have declared what you're doing it.
Yeah.
If you change your mind, you might be able to do the other thing with a penalty.
Yeah, I feel like it gets back to this is basically an adversarial GM, and at this point I feel, because I've read the rules, adversarial players as well, where if you have a good rapport with the players, then okay, they understand, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, there are consequences for what you're doing, but there may be some takebacks within reason.
We're going to get just a couple more because we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
You tell every single person what you're doing before you do it. You don't blanking roll dice and then say you're casting fireball. You tell us all.
Yeah.
Now here's where I agree and disagree. The part I agree with is you don't roll the dice until I tell you to roll the dice.
Yeah.
I'm casting fireball. Okay. I need you to roll damage. Or I might tell you, you don't roll damage. Well, why not?
Counterspell.
Or, if it isn't counterspell, like what I had last time, says you automatically do max damage. Oh, cool! And the size of the explosion is doubled. Why? You're the one who set off a fireball in a
area filled with sawdust.
No, it was a sewer.
Ooh, there's that. Let's see. Sawdust, flour, sewer. Yeah.
Methane gas. Boom.
See, you know what I'd do? I'd have a perception check right before they roll. Before they don't roll damage. Like, you beat the 10. Yeah. As you cast fireball, you smell methane. Boom.
Well, the problem is, I told them.
Yeah.
You're in a sewer. You smell that gassy smell everywhere. And then they decided they didn't actually throw a fireball. They just threw fire.
Doesn't matter.
And boom, it became a fireball. And everybody got like, oh, it hurt.
Yeah.
But I do agree. The part I don't agree with here is you tell every single person what you're doing.
No, sometimes you slip a note to the GM because maybe you're being a bit deceptive.
Or maybe you're in a completely different room and they're not supposed to know what's happening.
Right, yeah.
When I take a player aside, it's because the other players don't need to know what they're doing.
I thought you took players aside because you're killing their characters.
Sometimes.
I
give them a chance.
I know.
All right. I will give out exhaustion more frequently. If you argue, go home, or you can actually fight me over it, or you can DM yourself. First of all, no fighting. No physical fighting.
No fighting.
Nobody should be touching each other in game without their consent.
Right.
Especially not the GM. If you are sitting there physically threatening people, then yes, everybody should go home.
Game's over at that point.
But I will give out exhaustion more frequently. Fine. Give out exhaustion for whenever there is an in-game reason to.
Yeah.
Don't be giving it out because you got up in the morning. Roll Constitution. Oh, you didn't sleep very well. You got a point of Constitution. Those kind of things are not. This should be discussed.
Yeah, absolutely discussed.
My exhaustion rules have been discussed in my session 0.
Yep.
And that's the way it's supposed to be.
So we are about to go on to a 15-minute break.
Yes,
After
we are.
that, we are going to talk about romance.
And next week, we will start with number 10.
Yep.
And we will continue on with this.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for joining us. See you soon.
See you in 15 minutes.
go to rpgresearch.com/donate so that this talk show can continue, all our community center activities can continue, all the wonderful things that we do, education, etc., will continue. But we do need help so that we can grow and expand and reopen the community center to our people.
Yes. So we are going to be talking our main topic today, which is romance. By the way, happy Pride Month.
And happy Father's Day yesterday.
Yes.
And those of you who I've seen mention that they want certain holidays to be observed, Military Appreciation Month was May. You just weren't paying attention, not my fault.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay, so romance. What is romance? We have a couple of definitions here. I have one from Oxford. Oxford, one of my preferred places to go for definitions. It's because I have a slightly British upbringing. I prefer the Oxford definitions quite a bit.
Over Britannica?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because I like my colleges steeped and being older than the Aztec Empire. Yes. So, Oxford definition of romance is 1. Exciting, usually short relationship between two people in love with each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is one form of romance.
Yes.
Physical romance, or eros, as the Greek call it.
Yeah. 2. Love or feeling of being in love.
I'm in love with love.
Yeah, that is possible. 3. A story about a love affair. And the T attached to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Good old, what was his name? It was a knight. Shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have been there. King Arthur liked...
Oh,
Lancelot.
Lancelot. Yes.
Yes, and Lancelot referred to his weapon, not what he was doing with his wife.
Yeah. Well, by the way, we're going to be getting into... Lancelot's going to come up again.
Of course.
Yes. 4. A feeling of excitement and adventure, especially connected to a particular place or activity.
I have romantic thoughts about that island we were on.
Yes.
Okay.
5. A story of excitement and adventure, often set in the past. For example, the romance of the Arthurian romances.
Romancing the Stone.
Or Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Yes.
So there's Lancelot again in romance.
Well, he wasn't in the Three Kingdoms. He was in Shakespeare. No, not Shakespeare. It is Camelot.
Camelot, yes. Yes. Now, as a genre, romance generally has...
broader definitions?
Honestly, I feel like this is, more centralized definitions. And it goes around the... Well, I mean, what do we normally think of like romance novels? We're not normally thinking of the Arthurian romances. We're not normally thinking about Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which are adventures in olden times.
Right.
We're talking about primarily a central love story, an emotionally satisfying, that is emotionally satisfying with a generally optimistic end. They fall in love at the end. Now, full disclosure, I am a cishet male. I also understand that as a cishet male, that a lot, well, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things that men don't really understand about love because our society doesn't necessarily give us the tools to process it properly.
Also, there are some chemical differences that...
Yeah.
For example, whether you're attracted to something visually versus emotionally or scent-based.
Right. So, well, yeah, I acknowledge the limitations that I'm going to have on this topic. But I also feel like limiting it to just that is, how should I put it, an aspect of the patriarchy which I do try to rail against, and I feel that it is damaging to everyone. So, when I talk about...
We're not doing politics here, folks.
No, this is a societal argument that I have, and I feel that if we're going to talk about love, we're going to talk about romance, and we're going to talk about attraction, we're going to talk about all of it.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk about romantic, or as in the romantic era.
Yes. Well, so that the Romantic era comes from Romance, which is, we've got the Romance languages. So you've got your Spanish, you've got your French, you've got your Italian, which all come from Latin, and Latin was in Rome. This is where you get the Rome know, in Romance or Romance languages, and Romania. It's all from the Roman Empire.
And I can get into a long discussion about how Romania is separate from the rest of the languages in that physical area.
Yes.
But that's a story for later.
Yeah, that is getting into etymology, and today we're talking about romance. Yes. And no long-lived Rome. Rome fell, we don't need to bring back Rome. But yeah, that, this is where we can make the argument of romance being talking about a lot of those old school, adventures like Arthur. An argument can be made for Robin Hood as well.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Robin Hood was originally written during the Romance era.
Yes.
When is the Romance era?
I don't know.
The Romantic era was an artistic and intellectual movement originating in Europe towards the end of the 18th century.
Yeah. So 18th century.
So this is when we started getting stories about King Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin Hood.
Yep.
And
or Robin of Locksley.
One of the things that they're emphasizing was individualism.
Yes.
Passion and intuition.
Mm-hmm.
The affair of form. In fact, even non-requited love or unrequited love.
Mm-hmm.
Both.
So we're getting deep into the feels, we're getting deep into the emotions, and I feel like in one way or another, romance is going to evoke emotions. Either the excitement of of adventure, or the excitement of a new love, or anything. And I feel like once we start expanding the concept of attraction and love to more than just he loves her, she loves him, that standard, very binary form of thinking, we can actually get into a lot broader area of different types of romances, which it will include, for the guys, bromances. Right. No, it doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be romantic. A guy can love another guy, and it is platonic, and that is still very powerful, very healthy, and it sometimes fills a different role than, oh, this is the person I want to marry.
Right, or want to spend the night with.
Right, which are two different forms of attraction, which I have a thing for. Yes.
And the history of it, you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about emotion.
Yes.
Positive and or negative
emotions.
It was the expression of emotion. The neo-romantic era where modern art was starting to come from.
Yeah.
The artist felt that the emotion came first, then the art.
Yeah.
And
yeah. We have Cushbuck Crits here talking about enemies to lovers, and yeah, we've got an entire, just a roller coaster of emotions there, where it starts with they despise each other, and suddenly, well, I'm looking at them a bit funny, and maybe I don't hate them as much, and maybe I hate them more because I'm confused, and we've got this just emotion of that, and
you know which one I like better?
Which one do you like?
Friends to enemies to lovers.
Friends to enemies to lovers? Okay.
You get that full arc.
Mm-hmm.
Frenemies are really an interesting concept that gets played, and there's this, I hate you, but we're best friends. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? But it in some places... there's the friendly challenge between people.
Oh yeah, rivalries, which is very, 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 very prominent in with anime and manga shonen, where it's like we've got these two guys, and well, I'm going to go with Naruto here. Yes, Sasuke did have Naruto's first kiss, but they were rivals.
Yo-Yo Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho, yeah.
Yeah, Yu-Yu is how it's pronounced?
I believe it's called, well, I pronounce it Yu Yu.
Okay, well, Yo-Yo or Yu-Yu, it's Yu-Yu Hakusho. The two main characters and their two male main characters. The second one is always challenging him and fighting him because he wants to be good enough to be his rival.
Absolutely. Or the class rival that can compete against for the better grade. Yeah, there is that healthy rivalry, and sometimes when it's done well, they'll acknowledge, okay, by competing against each other, they make each other better. Goku and Vegeta.
Right.
Or Goku and Piccolo.
Or Goku and Chi-Chi. Everybody else.
Yeah.
You let a monkey loose, he goes ape.
Oh, jeez, that was bad. That was bad.
I'm sorry. It's better than one that I did the other day when I had my father-in-law was complaining about the price of corn. And he says, I go, what's up with corn being $1 an ear?
Yeah.
And I said, it's because of pirates.
Pirates?
And of course.
Yeah.
It's got to be pirates because they're $1 an ear.
How do you know when a dad joke is a dad joke?
When it's apparent.
Exactly. No. When it's full grown.
A full grown.
Yes, a full grown.
All right.
I apologize to everyone who had to listen to that. Sorry, not sorry.
All right. So let's rein this in a little bit. Let's pick one aspect of romance to look at by itself.
Okay.
So we would agree there are 3 aspects of romance.
Okay.
There is the romantic era.
Yeah, there's the romantic era.
There is romance as in love stories. And then there's erotica.
Yes.
Which is, I hate to say it, it is part of romance.
It is, absolutely is.
You get a romance novel, there's some erotica in there.
You get a sometimes. Novel, there's some erotica there are more than enough romance novels that are also erotica. Yes, women, I know that a lot of the romance novels that you're reading is smut. I'm not going to judge you, although some of them I will judge, they're filthy. And not just like, oh, because it's erotica. You know what you're reading.
My biggest problem with Harlequin romances, at least back when I quit trying to read them, was that once you've read one, you've read them all.
There is only so many Highlander, vampire, werewolves, immortals that are all in one that I can... no, they're all the same at that point. Yeah. Just choose one.
So, okay, which of these 3 parts do we want to cover at this moment?
I feel like if we talk about the romance novels, we can knock out eroticism as well.
Okay, one thing there.
So, because honestly, this gets into the, did some research earlier. There are generally 5 types of attraction. Okay. We have sexual.
Yes.
Okay, that gets into the erotica. Yes. Okay. We have physical, which isn't necessarily sexual. Sometimes it is just physical touch. You want to hug. Sometimes you want to spend time. You want to snuggle. That is all physical.
Yep. One of the vampire, or no, it was a werewolf romance one where they were talking about skin hunger. You just want to be in contact with someone.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily want to do anything other than be with them.
Yeah, and mind you, that could all be just separate from emotional, which gets into emotional attraction, where you have the feels for them, you want to spend more time with them, you care about their feelings, and there's all of that emotional stuff tied up with it.
And I'm not going to try to get into the argument about whether or not emotional infidelity is infidelity. But it is a thing. Emotional attraction and emotional relationship with another person is just what that is.
And this gets into one of the things that I was talking about earlier about my issue with the way our society has dealt with the romance and emotions and whatnot, because if we just think about, okay, emotional attraction is this narrow escape of, I want to be I want to marry them. Well, what about the brothers in arms who have a strong loyalty to each other because they've been through hell and back?
Right.
That's emotional. That's emotional attraction. That's covered in there.
Right.
I would say that if you have a good brothers in arms stories, that has every legitimacy to be considered a romance as well.
Right. As you were mentioning earlier,
Yeah.
the bromance.
Yeah.
We have a brotherhood.
Exactly.
Or we have a camaraderie with each other. The Three Musketeers, 4 if you count.
Absolutely. Yeah, they couldn't count.
Yeah.
They couldn't count.
4 if you actually can count.
Yeah.
But the Three Musketeers had a love affair.
With each other.
Yeah. Their relationship was built on love and respect, not bro.
Right. So if we consider like the standard tropes of a romance being okay, the central tenet of the story is love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the arc of the story is how this love is challenged and how the people involved in this love get through it, and at the end, does love survive? Where does the end result is them being married have to fall into that? It could be we have some brothers in arms, or honestly, or friends, or a gaming group, or anything where they love being with each other, and there are so many different things that challenges this group sticking together, and maybe some of them fall.
Yeah.
And you have
not all romances have happy endings, Romeo and Juliet.
There's an argument that Romeo and Juliet is less a romance or a tragedy and more of a comedy because all of that happened in 3 days. That's absurd. That's comedic. It is absurd. Yes. But, Romeo and Juliet is considered a romance. Not everything has to be like
a
Romeo
tragic romance.
Yeah.
As opposed to the happy ending, fairy tale ending that aren't in every story. And when you're doing a role-playing game, nobody knows the ending until you write it.
Exactly. So if we're doing romance as a genre, when it comes to role-playing games, one, we have the Arthurian legend, which could be absolutely 3-day spiral of chaos. That's Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
There's other indications that it may be a comedy in there, but this is not the time to talk about it. But we could watch a story of a group of people who go through trials and tribulations to see whether or not their group sticks together. Actually, I have a perfect one where at the end they do fade away. Sandlot Gang. The Sandlot.
Yes. That was a relationship among multiple people.
Absolutely.
And unlike it does not end in a physically romantic story. It was kind of disturbing on how it ended.
Yeah.
And I don't even call that a romance. It was something that was thrown in to shock. I think.
But I feel, when it comes to the central thing of the Sandlot being how are these group of kids they meet, they're together, how are their relationship to each other challenged? I think it's in that area. You're basically an emotionally centered story.
And when you're doing a role-playing game, it doesn't matter what setting you're playing in.
Right.
It doesn't matter what genre you're playing in.
Right.
It doesn't matter what because a Western romance or a science fiction romance or my favorite kind of romance, the fairy tale, are all valid.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about. Well, first of all, I want to get you through your list of 5 romances.
So after emotional, you have romantic,
right?
Which is the standard ones that everyone tends to think about.
This is the physical romance.
Well, let's see here. Onto the romantic attraction involves a combination of physical, sexual, and emotional feelings towards someone. It is subdivided into, and I have a subdivision of the different types of romantic attraction. Also have it for emotional and physical and sexual
Where did you get this list from?
Oddly enough, WebMD.
Which is an appropriate place because people's emotional and physical are one. We're finally getting to the point where people are considered one human being as opposed to their mouth being a separate medical issue and their ears being a third.
You're trying to claim that emotional doesn't affect psychological,
Yep.
and psychological actually does affect your well-being. So,
70% of all illness is psychosomatic, which means your emotional and psychological has just as much effect as that poison you eat every morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Whole wellness. I do acknowledge the advances in medical science on the Western side. I also acknowledge that there is certain credibility on the Eastern side, but we have to think about it holistically.
Which is what recreation therapy does.
Yeah, we actually do that in recreational therapy. Yeah. And then there is the last one, and with this one I thought was interesting. Aesthetic attraction. This involves feeling of admiration for someone's appearance without any physical, sexual, or romantic desire towards them. This type of attraction type often goes along with other types of attraction in a relationship. For example, you may like someone's dressing sense and also physically attracted to them. So, someone could be attracted to their whole vibe without necessarily be attracted to them.
Right.
Yeah. Someone was like, I love the goth aesthetic, or the punk aesthetic, or the heavy metal, or the pop, bubblegum pop aesthetic. That doesn't mean that you like every person in it, but maybe that's your jam.
Or the steampunk.
That too.
Or at least the Victorian and the 1930s. Okay, I'm old.
You know what? They had a certain style to them, and I think and that's completely valid. Yeah.
So, what kind of role-playing games? Okay, before I even start getting to what kind of role-playing games, let's take a quick second here. We've had in our chat the phrase "consent is sexy."
Yes,
it is, and it's extremely important, no matter what kind of story you're telling.
Yeah.
But in horror and in romance, those are predominant necessities.
Yes.
To cover.
Yeah.
And we have safety tools. We have session zeros. We have trigger warnings, all those kind of things. And we want to cover those in depth next week.
Yes.
But we are going to say that you do not want to have a romance story in your role-playing games without a discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need, when you're having a role-playing game, you need to talk about some of the central things and topics that you want to cover in your story, in the campaign. Or if it seems like a theme is coming up, okay, maybe it's a session, whatever number 0.5, where there's an interlude and you just talk to your players like, okay, looks like there's a, this type of theme going on. Maybe the bard is being extra horny. And they're making it a thing. Well, it seems like, okay, the campaign's going this way. Have a talk about it. You don't have to regulate this to just session 0.
Correct. You can have breaks. You can have a discussion offline.
Yeah.
You can have a in-game discussion if you want to do things in things. But it's better to do it outside of the game a little bit, and that you also. This is part of the safety rules. Are we going to fade to black, or am I going to whip out the book of erotic fantasy and we're going to have skill rolls?
Yes. By the way, this is a notorious book.
Yeah, that one's actually mine.
I happen to like it, despite it being erotica, because I've read it, and you know what? It's by Monty Cook is not in this, but they talk about consent in that book.
Yes, they do.
They absolutely talk about consent in the book.
Monty Cook Games has a consent form.
Yeah.
It's called the RPG consent form. You definitely want to get a look at that.
Despite the quote-unquote mature topic of this book actually takes the topic maturely.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is why I respect it. It isn't just, we're going to talk about sex. No. They talk about sex, they talk about romance, they talk about relationships, and all the different dynamics that come into play. This is
including consequences.
Exactly. This is why I love this book.
All right, let's talk about some of the ones I don't have copies for here.
Uh-huh.
Blue Roll. It's
Okay.
a role-playing game of romantic fantasy. Blue Rose has been around for quite a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Green Ronin Publishing, I do believe, is who has it now, but it was back there in the 80s and 90s. And Blue Rose is a fantasy tabletop RPG role-playing game in which players take on the role of heroes in the world of Aldea, a setting inspired by works of romantic fantasy genre. Connections to other characters matter as much as the combat skills and magic in these stories, in solving mysteries, righting wrongs, and daring heroics.
Yeah.
Blue Rose is more akin to the Arthurian concept of romantic.
Yeah.
It is part of the romantic age. And they have a whole thing on their bluerose.com. When you click on the first link on there, and it talks about what is romantic fantasy, romantic novels, attitudes of magic, and the other products. But this is not necessarily a let's get sexy thing. We're talking, they are talking the high fantasy quest of authors like J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah.
One of the greatest fantasies, romances in J.R.R. Tolkien was Brennan and Uriel. My brain is just.
See, I would have gone with Tom Bombadil and his wife.
Well, that is a great thing, but it wasn't a full story about their romance.
I know.
They had a full romance, which was based on Isidel, an actual story that happened in the Romantic era.
By the way, any excuse I will take to bring up Tom Bombadil, I will. I absolutely love Tom Bombadil.
Exactly. So what other ones do we have? We had an article with 8 tabletop RPGs that are way harder on Valentine's Day love coupons. And they talk about games like Fog of Love, which is a 2-player game. Starcrossed, which is also a 2-player game. And one of them, Starcrossed uses Jenga, just like Dread does.
Nice.
So that's a very interesting one. Slay with Me, and S is /lay, W/me, Slay. Yeah.
I see what they're doing. Yeah. I see what they're doing.
2-player game. Monster Hearts 2, which is one of the ones that isn't just a 2-player game. You can have 3 to 6 players. A romance doesn't mean it's just 2 people.
Yeah, in this modern day, we do acknowledge polyamory is a thing.
Well, as you were saying, Sandlot was 9 people.
I wasn't counting at that point. There was a lot of them. Mind you, it was also not romantic.
Right. Your romance doesn't have to be, it's not Bacchanal or 183 Days, also 2 to 6 players in those games. And then we held Hands or Romance Trilogy. And then there's the ones that are designed differently.
Polyamory from ancient Greece. Oh, will you upload this stream to YouTube? We are going to try.
Eventually, yes.
We are working on it.
We definitely are going to get these up to YouTube. That is one of our goals. We are saving the hard copies.
Yeah, we download them every day.
Which is once a week.
Yeah.
And we are going to have other shows coming up that all will eventually get on YouTube. Sooner the better, but that is one of our goals.
Yeah. I do know that we should be able to get a little bit more progress with that now that happily I will have a bit more free time coming up. We've talked about this.
Yep.
But I'm happy for that. Yes.
So remember, I mentioned earlier, romance can be attached to any genre, including horror. Call of Cthulhu Does Love Forgive? It is a 2-player. I actually have it, and I really need to play it with somebody on these things. We have Love You to Death, Mask of Desire. They are both Call of Cthulhu 1-on-1 player games.
Romance and Call of Cthulhu has reminded me of the song.
I'm afraid to ask you which song.
The one where someone summoned Cthulhu and ended up romancing Cthulhu. It has a really nice jingle.
Okay,
Yeah.
I believe you on that.
I'll show it to you later.
Other ones that I believe I had we had talked to about before is Thirsty Sword Lesbians by
Okay.
Evil Hat Games. So evilhat.com product slash thirsty-sword-lesbians.
Yeah.
There are other ones that start getting into the more sexually explicit things.
Yeah.
We already saw the Book of Erotic Fantasy,
Yes.
which was for Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. But there are, for 5th edition, Lewd Dungeon Adventures.
Okay.
Their own system entirely is the my brain doesn't want to go there, apparently. It's not Book of Erotic Fantasy. It is Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Yeah.
loftp.com/RPG.
Is that from 3rd edition as well?
No, it's its own system.
It's its own system. Okay.
And it takes a very more light-hearted view of romance. Better Than Any Man is a title.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. There are, pink magic.
Okay.
There is very risque things, and it is played more to the puerile. Lewd Dungeon Adventures is supposed to be more sexually explicit, even more than, say, Book of Erotic Fantasy.
Okay.
Because Book of Erotic Fantasy was meant to be a supplement to integrate with your story, while Lewd Dungeons and Dragons, the erotica is the story.
Yeah.
There is that difference of a storytelling that you're doing. Is your romance part of the story, or is it the story?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a romance novel and King Arthur's tales.
Yeah. So that's honestly that is the difference between a romance as the genre or a subgenre.
Exactly.
Yeah. And any genre can be a subgenre. Depends on what is the primary bent of the story.
Some of these stories are going to be more puerile. Other stories are going to be more platonic. And it can still be a love story. The concept of an unrequited love is part of the romance.
Yeah.
But so is having a romance last beyond after the children are born.
Yeah. There are so many things, so many ways that just the exploration of attraction and emotions, make for interesting stories. And when it comes to, and this is an issue that I have with many narratives, especially syndicated romance or syndicated stories and whatnot, where you have a will they, won't they, and near the end, the two main couple finally get together, and then the story ends, and we get so much of that. I want, they get together, and then you get to see the trials and tribulations of them maintaining that romance afterwards. I want to see that, because then maybe more people will know what to do with their romance, with their relationships when they hit rocky portions.
When you write role-playing games, one of the secrets to all artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah.
And
The best artists, you'll never know where they stole it from.
right, they'll mix and match and
Yeah.
but some of the things that you could look for that type of story, look at it's not Lois and Clark, it's the live action Superman Lois Lane story, not not new animated one, which is a good one.
It is.
But the live action Superman and Lois story, I wish I remember the actual title.
Not Lois and Clark.
No, Lois and Clark's the old one.
Yeah, I know Lois is the Clark is the old one.
Maybe one of our assistants can help find that. But the point is, this story takes place. They have 2 children. They're married.
Yeah.
And there is still a very strong line of a romance story in that Superman series. And they cover all kinds of topics that deal with the romance of things. We're talking everything from infidelity. Yeah, I think it is Superman and Lois.
Yeah, it may be Superman and Lois.
Instead of Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, Superman and Lois, but they do cover things like infidelity. They do cover things like sexual attraction.
Yeah.
How it changes and how events in your life may have a very negative or other impact upon your life. And it's in there with what the villains are going through. It's there what the side characters are going through, and it is going through with the line of the characters. And it is also, by coincidence, one of the best Superman stories ever told, because Superman has to face things he can't punch.
Yeah. By the way, this is how you write Superman, where you don't avoid the morally gray. You deal with, he has to make tough decisions. It isn't just, oh, he has the right answer for everything. That isn't a good Superman story.
No.
Yeah. You give him challenges where it is messy. And you don't treat him like he's a substitute for Jesus. Yeah, I'm calling out Grant Morrison.
Oh, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Aren't you calling out, which Superman was that where he's literally doing the Jesus pose over the Day of the Dead?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people use Superman as a Jesus analog. But here's another one. From DC, let's go over to Marvel.
Okay.
Spider-Man has had a long history with Mary Jane, and before Mary Jane, it was not Betty Brant.
Stephanie.
Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy. Who was a tragic story.
It was. I still would prefer them to explore Gwen Stacy more, but that is going to be difficult. Difficult to.
Keep talking.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would love for them to do more with Gwen Stacy. I thought that was interesting, and that has some room to grow. But Spider-Man married Mary Jane.
Yes.
And the people were watching their relationship as a married couple, and then editorial came down and said we have to get Spider-Man back to basics, and then we have Brand New Day, in which case Spider-Man and Mary Jane sell their marriage and their unborn child to the Marvel equivalent of Satan to save Aunt May from dying yet again. And they make everyone forget it happened. They dissolve everything to get him back to where it was. And yeah, there's some good stories afterwards, but
I like the high school stories, I like the college stories, and I like the stories where he is married and has a family and their own lines. You want to talk about some Marvel?
Yeah.
One of the greatest love triangles in the Marvel universe is got to be Cyclops, Jane Grey, and Wolverine.
Yes, and one of the recent things that they did with that in this Krakoan era, which recently came to an end, was they made Wolverine and Scott Summers bisexual. They're
Okay.
yeah, it is a real triangle now with them.
Well, if you look at Morph,
Mm-hmm.
who is non-binary,
According to the cartoon, but I still loved it. X-Men
but it's
'97 was amazing.
but it's
Yeah, yes,
it's
yes,
kind
they
of
absolutely
logical.
did do that. It wasn't said explicitly, but there is more than enough evidence there in the Krakoan Age stuff that yeah, Wolverine is bisexual, and so is Scott Summers, and they are with each other as much as they are with Jean Grey. It was a throuple.
I didn't get to read that one. I might have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
But we are running out of time, so we're going to wrap this part up.
Yeah.
I do want to remind everybody that RPG Research is a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Mhm.
We need your donations, so please go to rpgresearch.com/donate. Sign up for us on Twitch.
Yeah.
Go to Patreon. And when we start broadcasting things on YouTube, it will be the show that you just saw here,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be on YouTube, maybe edited a little bit to get rid of the or those parts where I couldn't remember the name of anything, and we'll edit it in there, making me look smarter than I am.
I forget when that happened.
You have a memory?
Huh?
I forgot what was going on.
Okay.
Anyways, I had this.
We do not apologize for our bad antics. We are horrible.
I was going to hand you a script for this bit where it says, I want to talk about politics just for a little bit, and then get into the Monty Python rant about how women in lakes handing out swords is not a form of government or a good basis for a government.
See,
and we might do that still.
I love that bit. I'm going to have to touch up on the shorthand for what is it? Wenches throwing sabers,
right? and
her. No, you don't get paid enough for this. You don't get paid at all. We're volunteers here. No one here is paid.
But if you want us to pay our volunteers, donate.
Yes, trust me. If you think the jokes online are bad, you don't want to know what they're suffering through offline.
All right, so let's go ahead and...
what's happening after this?
After this,
Yeah.
we are going to do the last of Challenge of Champions, the first Challenge of Champions.
Yep.
Each Challenge of Champions number 10, has 10 stories in it. And we are doing Dungeon number 58. It's the last one of that. And after the Challenge of Champions for our Traps and Riddles section, we will get into the unboxing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have several products that we promised to unbox.
Yep.
Including Wondrous One-Shots, WizKids Miniatures,
Mm-hmm.
and two, not one, but two games from Mont Cook.
Yeah. We apologize for what Nightbot is doing.
Well, when you only work nights, what do you expect?
So it's overnight bot then.
Yeah, Night Shift Bot is having issues.
Night Shift bot needs more Red Bull. Yeah.
Or not a sponsor.
No, it's not
we
a
don't
sponsor.
have any sponsors. In fact, all these products that we're going to be bringing out and show you were purchased by members of RPG Research and donated so that we can, except for one of them was purchased as a Father's Day gift for me.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm only a father to a very well.
You're a fur baby, father?
I'm a fur baby, yes.
Yeah. You're not a fur baby.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah. You're a fur baby father.
Yes.
But you're not a fur baby.
Correct. So, we will be back in about 15 minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
See you then. Come back. Hey, while you're waiting for us to come back, tell your friends. Get them on here to watch this.
Yeah, watch this train wreck with us.
All right. See you soon.
See you soon. Welcome to back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research, where we research all role-playing games in every format for their benefits for educational, therapeutic, entertainment, and leisure purposes. You'll find more at rpgresearch.com, and please donate so that we can keep this show going, as well as our community center, our museum, and all the other projects that we want to get back to doing.
Yes. So, we just got done talking about romance and attraction and feelings, and that was our main topic. What are we doing now?
Well, now we are going to Traps and Riddles.
Yes.
By the way, this has been one of the better shows. If you haven't been watching, I'm sorry. But
we had a good rapport back with the romance. It was a very heated topic. Well, not heated, but energized. Yeah.
It was passionate.
It was.
So, as we get back into it, we are doing Traps and Riddles every week. I will give him a trap or riddle that he needs to solve, or a scenario he needs to solve. Right now, we are doing a Challenge of Champions, which came from Dungeon Magazine number 58 on page 32. This was back in old days, first edition, 1996.
Yeah.
Written by Jonathan M. Richards, and the art was by Harry Dykstra. And we will run one of these scenarios. This is basically the Olympics of dungeon crawling. And you have 10 different challenges. So there are 4, if I remember right, maybe 5, but at least 4 Challenge of Champions. After we get done through those, I have other sources of these kind of challenges.
Torment.
Plus, I write my own. And I've been told mine are a little harder. But sometimes the ones that are in here are super hard because they're too easy.
Yeah, I've found that I'm easier with his homemade ones because I have a tendency to overthink, whereas sometimes I'm overthinking the simple stuff.
Exactly. So we're going to get right into the story.
Yep.
At last, the final scenario is at hand. You are brought into a room that is 10 foot square. Picture. One wall holds a locked door. Another holds a locked vault door. Next to the vault door is a series of 4 circular indentations. The proctor for the scenario is a guild rogue named Luther. He hands you the starting equipment, a wizard scroll containing detect magic, and a sealed parchment letter. Now, you must not open this letter until the scenario has begun. He also checks to see that each team member is wearing their respective medallions, fighting one for none. So you have the fighter, thief, priest, and mage medallions, correct?
Yes.
Because you solved all those. Actually, you didn't solve the priest one, did you?
No, I didn't.
So I have to give you a priest medallion.
Okay.
I think you may have gotten killed in the fighter one too. So any ones you're missing, you get replacements for.
Okay.
Now, at the whistle, Luther reads your task briefing. The door is locked and the key is stored inside the vault here. Also stored in the vault is a special trophy, a sprite carved out of a large gemstone. All you have to do is to figure a way into the vault, grab the trophy,
Welcome back to RPG Talk Show. This is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. You've probably already heard my spiel, and if you hadn't, check the comments section. You'll know what we're talking about.
Yes, we were in the middle of Traps and Riddles when we had some technical difficulties. I am currently trying to figure out this trap and riddle. If I recall, that's a 10 by 10 room, 2 locked doors, and a vault. I'm supposed to get into the vault.
Right? And get the key to go out, take out your trophy, and go up to your fans. Go ahead and please post the note that he is opening and reading right now.
Okay, and that note says a gem sprite if the freight door opens. Okay.
Yeah, the formatting is important, but the player has the correct formatting and you will understand it by the end. But if you do understand it ahead of time, go ahead and post your ideas after he has completed the scenario.
Okay, so I have in my possession a wizard scroll to detect magic.
Yes.
Anything else?
The note that you were
Yeah.
given,
Mm-hmm.
and the four medallions.
Oh, and the four medallions.
Yep. The thief, priest, fighter, mage medallions.
Okay. You said a thief, priest, fighter, and mage.
Yep.
Okay.
Safe is built into the wall, semicircular and modern bank vault with a handle that must be rotated in order to open it. On the left side of the safe are four circular indentations, one above the other.
One above the other. Okay. The thief is going to inspect the vault to see if there are any mechanical aspects to unlocking it.
No, there are no keyholes, there are no handles to turn. It's just a handle to pull, but it doesn't turn or rotate
Mm-hmm.
or any of those things.
Okay. A gem sprite if the freight door opens. The wizard is going to use a scroll to cast detect magic.
All right, casting detect magic. You notice that all four of the medallions glow and have magic, as well as the indentations to the left on the wall of the safe.
Okay, is there anything interesting about the magic auras?
Um, they are enchantments.
All of them?
All of them. Everything is enchantment.
Okay. Gem sprite if the freight door opens. Huh. I'm thinking that there's some type of um well, I know that there's a clue in the note. Trying to figure out if the order of the letters matter. A going straight down ASIFD. Also with the specific names of thief, priest, fighter, mage, you said?
Yep, those are the medallions you have.
So that is TPFM. There's an F in there, there's a P in there, an M in there.
This is easier when you have actually four people to talk it through with,
Yeah.
but you're challenged.
Yes. So my assumption is that I need to figure out the order in which the medallions go into the slots.
Okay?
The question is, what order is it? Um, a gem sprite. If the freight door opens. 5 lines, 4 medallions. And at this point, I know that I'm overthinking.
Maybe.
Maybe. Last letters MET. Beats. And so I'm going to try an experiment.
Okay.
Okay. I am going to try and put the mage medallion in the top.
Okay. It fits.
It fits. Does anything happen?
Nope.
So,
I mean, the medallion stays in the hole.
can I pull it out?
Yes.
Okay. So,
There's no clicking sound or anything. It just fits in the hole.
okay. So, give me a moment here. I'm then going to put in below that the priest medallion.
Okay. It fits.
It fits. Okay. Then the fighter medallion. Then the thief medallion.
All right. All of them fit in the slots that you provided, but the door does not open.
Okay, I'm gonna pull them all out.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the order in which I took the thief, priest, fighter, and mage challenge. I know the priest challenge was last. Right?
I can look. Let's see here. Priest challenge was scenario number 8.
Was scenario number 8.
Yeah, 9 was bear century.
Okay, 9 was bear century. When was the fighter challenge?
Fighter challenge was, well, thief was 4.
Mm-hmm.
Fighter was 2.
Uh-huh.
And
When was mage?
okay, let's see, going down. Fighter was 2, thief was 4, mage was 6,
Uh-huh.
and the priest was 8.
Okay, I'm going to try putting it from top to bottom. Fighter, thief, mage, and priest.
They all fit, nothing happens.
Okay. So that was not that. That, 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 that. Okay, I'm thinking. Okay. Is there anything else that is radiating magic in the room?
No.
I'm going to check the two.
Even the scroll no longer radiates magic because you've used it.
Yeah. The two locked doors. The thief is going to check those two doors to see if there's anything with them.
Okay. One doesn't have a lock on this side, and the other one does have a lock. But you don't have any tools to unlock it.
Okay. There's too many iterations for me to
Randomly
brute force
guess.
this.
Okay.
I've already tried 2.
Yep, brute forcing does take a lot of time. Basically,
Yeah.
2 minutes per try.
2 minutes per try. Right. Great tool.
While he's thinking a reminder, ideas should be sent to RB. It should be sent to RPG Talk Show info at rpgresearch.com. Topic of RPG Talk Show. Yeah, it's Nightbot's taking care of it.
Thank you. Gem sprite if the freight door. Was there was there a way for me to ask for assistance or a clue?
No.
Not on this one.
Well, not on any of them. But well, yeah, I think there was some clue available. So let me go ahead and try to come up with a clue that wouldn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Words matter.
That doesn't help me much because I was already assuming that the words matter.
There's not much I can tell you without just telling you the answer.
Right.
But you know it's not the order you got the gems. I mean the medallions.
Yeah. Not that order.
And we've given you the answer.
If the door opens. The 2 minutes, yeah. If the door.
If the freight door opens,
If the freight door.
all words matter.
I'm aware of that. Freight a gem sprite. Sprite a gem freight. This one I know is just staring me in the face.
It is.
It really is.
You're going to kick yourself when I tell you the answer. So.
I know I am. But I've got a minute and 30 seconds. I'm gonna suffer through this minute and 30 seconds and just try and get this. If the freight doors. Is there anything in here that would be considered a freight?
Nope.
No.
I mean, the vault door.
Okay.
Because it says if the freight door opens, and the only door you need to worry about is the vault door.
Mm-hmm.
So the freight door and the vault door must be the same thing.
Right. Let's try. Let's try priest, fighter, thief, mage.
No.
Fighter, thief, priest, mage.
No.
Thief, priest, fighter, mage.
No. Forcing isn't going to help you.
I sit down.
All right.
Okay. I give up.
Okay, if I give you the first word, I bet you'll get the rest of them.
Yeah.
When your first try, you had the first 2 words correct.
On my first try?
Yep, you got the first 2 words correct.
A gem.
A gem.
Uh-huh.
Right? And that was, you put in mage.
Right.
The next word is sprite.
Yeah.
And you put in priest. If the.
A gem, if the freight doors open sprites.
It's a gem sprite if the freight.
If the freight. I'm still blanking.
And if anybody is in the audience, please let us know so I can see what your guesses are. I'm going to give them just a few moments before I tell them the answer.
But we know that mage is the first one.
Right. What do you
Okay.
think the first line and the answer have in common?
No one. So I'm also trying. The fighter challenge. What did it entail?
Purple worm.
Purple worm.
You had to go into the purple worm and get the medallion.
Mm-hmm. And the priest challenge was the bear.
No, the priest challenge was the shackles to get the people out from over the acid pile.
Oh yeah. The mage challenge. Which one is that?
That was the one where you had to do the float down.
Float down.
Yeah, you had to get the table and float down.
Oh yeah. Okay. I give up.
All right. Well, yeah, and we're out of time.
Yeah.
My last hint, because this is where you're going to slap yourself in the forehead. They're anagrams. Remember, the first word is mage, and the second word is priest.
Priest.
So, what's the next one?
Thief.
Which leaves?
Fighter.
They're all anagrams.
Oh, gee.
I know. It's literally staring you in the face. I thought you had it when you started going mage, priest, and then you went fighter, thief, and I was like, oh, so close.
Oh. Oh, jeez.
Next week we're going to do a brand new Challenge of Champions from another Dungeon magazine. I will put out the place cards, tell you what it is before each one.
Yeah, I was thinking ciphers as well. I said I was overthinking it.
I know you were. I know you were because it was almost too easy.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
And nothing makes it harder than that 15-minute time limit.
Mm-hmm. The time is adds it adds pressure.
All right, we're going to
Okay.
take an extremely short break while we switch cameras
Yeah.
to go into our unboxing.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, you can't fail those.
We'll see. Welcome Welcome back. This is the RPG Talk Show, and we're doing unboxings after my failure at the traps and riddles. I hate anagrams. So we've got wondrous one shots. That is the first of I see 3 other boxes.
So four things to open up. 2 of them are very much related to each other. Wondrous one shots can be found at the Dungeon in a Box website.
Yeah.
And this is a monthly product that we open up. Again, we have no sponsors. This was paid for by myself.
Yeah.
So, Dungeon in a Box, you want to sponsor us, please go ahead and take a look at that. They have more products, by the way. They have a year-long campaign. They have one that's just miniatures and just skinny minis. They have good products there. But so ahead, what do we have here?
So we have something in here that says Monster Trainer's Handbook.
By the way, this arrived in the mail yesterday.
Okay.
So this is actually an advertisement for the GoFundMe or Kickstarter. I think it's a Kickstarter for something that's coming out right now.
Okay, cool.
It's basically Pokemon for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, well that would explain some of these monsters, which look very, very vibrant. And these are plastic with front and back.
These are called skinny minis. They're like just like the minis you get from Mage Knight games. They're single-sided, front and back. So the back is a different image than the front.
Yeah.
Unlike some of them where the front and backs are just the same face, but both directions.
We've got looks like some type of version of a beholder, the rainbow-eyed watcher, the spotted clasper, red dragon wormling, a hoot bear, a land shark, because I guess Boule is copyrighted.
Probably owlbears are copyrighted as well.
Yeah. Although I think a Boule wouldn't be copyrighted. I think that historically it's a creature already. The Boule. And we have, let's see here. What do we have here? A jackalope on this one, as well as a crimson spider. It is difficult to read. A unicorn colt. Yeah. See that?
All right, yeah. I'll give a quick readout of what these things are. X-Druid, 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 X-Druid. So apparently bad druids. The rainbow-eyed watcher, which looks like a beholder without the tentacles. Azure chimera, spotted clasper, which looks like a cloaker.
Yeah.
Hoot bear, which is an owlbear, red dragon wormling, and the land shark, which is the Boule. The jackalope, one of my favorite critters. The verdant ice worm, face cat. I'm seeing a lot of copyright change names. Yes. Living automaton, dragon turtle, unicorn colt, all kinds of neat creatures.
Ooh, we've got a... ooh, this is a big one.
Oh, nice large map. So what's on the map?
So it looks... Let's see here. Ah, there we go.
Are we talking Feywild here?
This could possibly be in the Feywild or the deep Fey. I'm seeing all sorts of stuff here.
Now, I'm not sure which way is the top of the map.
I don't know either.
But, you know, the map gets laid flat, and you have to figure out which way north is, and I bet the module tells us that.
Ooh, this one is easier.
Yeah, that's a nice river and a cliff and a waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
And there looks like there's a well at the top.
Yeah.
Pull it down a little bit further. There you go.
Yep.
That's a well? Okay.
That looks like a well. Okay, that is a...
1 inch square. This is one of the reasons I love these things, is just to get the maps in the thin minis. But there should be a story in here as well.
Yes, there is. It is the Companions of the Wild. It is Wondrous One-Shots. Let's see here. Companions of the Wild, Druids of the Dark Spring accommodates a party of up to 5 adventurers between the 3rd and 5th level. Can be played as a one-shot or as a part of a larger story. It's 5e compatible.
Excellent. And one of these, when we start getting these,
Ooh, we've got a flower druid. Looks like.
Yeah, and the pictures all correspond with the miniatures.
Yeah.
I have not seen any of this yet. I know the next one is going to be about a cobra sphinx or a cobra pharaoh. It's going to be an Egyptian themed one, basically.
Ooh.
I'm looking forward to seeing and running that one.
Companion features table. Oh, it looks like, well, you said it was kind of Pokemon themed, so
well, no,
companions.
That first tag, that card that came out there was for a Kickstarter that is not related directly to this story.
Okay.
It's for, and in fact, if you can pull up that, hand me the card.
This one?
Yes.
There you go.
The Monster Trainer's Handbook is on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, I got a picture for here. 5e supplement and setting inspired by the world of Pokemon, Digimon, and Monster Ranchers.
Mm-hmm.
Monster Trainer classes. Some classes bring your team of monsters buddies into the battle. Comprehensive rare creatures, bestiary, collection of creature cards, monster evolutions, quirks, and feats. Level up your monster buddies and unlock their rare abilities. 2 hardcover handbooks and so much more. So Google Monster Trainer Handbook on Kickstarter. And I will give this over to our best friend over here. I don't know if he can look it up from there.
Yeah. But let's see here. The Sanctuary attack. As the party approaches the Sanctuary, read the following. Oh, well, that's the beginning.
Shouldn't there be something on the back?
Long ago, a powerful nature spirit bestowed the gift of a spectacular animal companions upon a benevolent druid circle. Though similar to common beasts or monsters, these wild companions possess a deep desire to connect with another entity. Once bonded, pairs train arduously to perfect martial skills and magical abilities. This sounds like Pokemon.
Well, not only does that sound like Pokemon, it sounds like it's a direct tie to that Kickstarter.
Right. If properly tended, bonds last a lifetime. Yeah. So it looks like, Pokemon and D&D.
All right. So we got the book, the map, we got the skinny minis.
Yep.
And now that's more of an incentive to try to get the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And now I'm a little more curious than I was before. Am I going to get in on it? I don't know yet.
Next up, we have Icons of the Realms, Spelljammers, Adventures in Space. Showdown setting. The Temple of Light. Looks like we have some things in here. Prince Zarvas, Princess Zindala. I'm probably mispronouncing all of these. Zodar. There's a lot of Z's. Astral Elf Warrior. Prince Zeleth. And another Astral Elf. And an Astral Font. Take a look at what's inside here.
This is for the Spelljammer campaign.
Yeah.
And it is... how do I say it? Oh, by the way, Monster Trainer's Handbook is coming soon to Kickstarter. So we got to wait for that for a little while. So this is for Spelljammer, and it is, I believe, I haven't gotten that far in the story, but I believe this is the final encounter.
Okay.
So spoiler alert if you're one of my players.
And it looks like we've got a 4x4 panels, some type of ring, as well as it looks like space.
So one side of that is wild space.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter which side you put the cards in, and it is designed for the miniature spaceships. So it's spaceship scale. which
Okay.
makes it like one square is 50 to 500 feet, depending on the dungeon master.
Yeah, I kind of would have preferred it to be hex space. instead of
I
square.
use a hex space
Okay.
for mine because you have better control of things. But that is, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition doesn't like to get confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. For overland movement, I prefer hex crawls. For tactical movement, I prefer squares. So we have looks like those were astral elves.
Yeah, we have astral elves and fighters. I'm glad I got this now, even though I'm a long way from getting to the final scenes. Some of these miniatures will show up earlier, and unfortunately, the ones with the bows are the hardest because you can only get them here, or the $700 set. Dungeons and Pokemon. All right. If you can also get in closer to the minis themselves, that would be great.
Okay.
I hear that people watching this can see these better than I think we can see them.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
You want to hand me the box?
Absolutely. There we go.
Nope, that's not what one I want to need. I need the sleeve.
There we go.
All right. So what you're sitting there looking at, the ring is the astral font. And when the map is showing the big glowing circle in the middle, that goes around the astral font.
What is an astral font?
Can't tell you, spoiler alert for the players.
Okay.
Astral Elf Warrior is the one with the bow. The Astral Elves are the ones with the swords. Prince Zelith is the one with the red skirt. Prince Zarva is the one in the purple. And Princess Zedali is the one in the black, with both the princess and the prince with that are not the one in the purple have hoods to help them breathe in wild space.
And then we have this guy.
This is Zodar, and right now I honestly don't know if this is a Zodar or the Zodar.
I'm not going to ask if that matters, it's because probably spoilers.
I haven't read that far.
Okay.
I only read a chapter ahead. I am lazy. One has a curvy sword. Yes. Put it in hot water, straighten it up, and then stick it in the refrigerator, and that will, while it's still held up straight, stick it in the freezer, and it will cool back to where you want it to.
Cool.
So all these will soften up if you do that. And having only one curved sword in that whole group is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The bows, one of the bows is a little tiny bit bent, but nobody's going to notice that.
Yeah. Okay. I will move on to the next one. Grab these real quick. Try to be gentle with them.
Now, these are from WizKids.
Yep.
So WizKids.com, they're the people who created them. They were created for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They also make Pathfinder minis and HeroClix. HeroClix are coming out soon with a Dungeons & Dragons HeroClix.
So this one is the Devil's Dandy Dogs.
Right, now show the other box too at the same time.
Okay. Let me open this. Oh, this is already opened. we don't want to dox John here.
Yeah, but the box itself inside isn't opened.
Yeah.
So this is a box set for a game called Stories, Stealing Stories for the Devil. Now, I am not sure. They're both by Monka Games.
Yeah.
The artwork seems a little similar. I do not know if they are completely separate games. Now, I do know they can be played separately without having the other.
Okay, that's good.
But are they tied together in any way, shape, or form? I don't know. My guess is actually not.
Okay.
But go ahead and read the front and backs of these.
Okay. So the Devil's Dandy Dogs. With this one, a role-playing game about magic, mystery, teamwork, and the desire that drives us. You are one of the Devil's Dandy Dogs, a creature made of the Devil's shadow, and as such, you're tasked with one thing: collecting souls. You'll face myriad people, places, creatures, experiences, and conundrums, not to mention temptations. And when you're done, the devil will want a rousing story of your exploits. Collaborate with the rest of your pack and the diviner to create the conflict, character, and resolution to your tale. Also, this is a storytelling game.
Yes.
Special dice and a Tara-style deck generate interesting twists and turns. This no-prep, rules-light narrative role-playing game is filled with mystery, magic, and the unforeseen, and a pack of supernatural dogs trying to their best to be oh so good. Sounds cute. Okay. And let's read the other one. The Perfect Heist. Getting in, getting out, the smooth talking and the careful bluffs, the stealth, the hacking, the quick action, and above all, the beautiful plan. It's never as easy as it seems. Not like it ever seems easy. But you and your crew pull it off, and you look good doing it, Bond. Ocean? Neo? Yeah, they're okay. You're the real deal. Because you're not just master thieves, you're master thieves from the future. And better yet, you're liars. A special kind of liar. When you lie to reality, it believes you. A door where there wasn't one before, a lock someone forgot to check, a guard who looks away at just the right moment. If the mission isn't going right, you fix it. You change the rules. You take control of reality itself. And that's good because something is breaking reality and you've got to stop it. In fact, the devil told you to. It's time to save the universe, liar. If you fail, it's the end of, well, everything. Zero prep, really. The collaborative process between players and the GM builds the heist scenario and the PC's plan at the same time, eliminating adventure prep while setting up a heist that comes together beautifully. But with nail-biting twists and turns, the game contains complete rules and amazing GM resources to get you playing within minutes. Interesting. I don't think they're connected.
No, they seem similar in concept.
Yeah.
But they are definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
So let's open one up.
I'm opening it up right now. We're going to open up Stealing Stories for the Devil first. There we go. And let's see what we have here. There we go. We have Getting Started. You want to read that?
Yeah, okay. What do we got here? Getting Started. This box just opened is full of lies. And that's a good thing. It's full of books and sheets and dice. To get started understanding it all, begin by looking at the books. Now, what I'm going to also mention is that starting on Wednesdays, and we'll tell you which Wednesday we're going to start on, we will be doing play testing of tons of things. We have such a backlog. but we will get to your favorites. If you tell us which one's your favorite, we'll try to push those ones a little ahead.
Okay, so the book is right here.
Yep. If you're going to be a player in this role-playing game, read Liars and then find some other people to play with you, one of whom will be the game master. If you're going to be the game master, we want to look at all the books in this order. Liars, The Devil, and the Stories They Steal. You don't need to read all of them cover to cover, but you'll want to familiarize with the material in a general sort of way. Basically, Liars is the rules of the game, The Devil's further advice and tips for the GM, and The Stories They Steal is a reference book you'll want to have at your table. The other companions in the box include a deck of cards, dice, character sheets, reference cards, all of which you'll use during play. Now, already, big difference between the two boxes is the second box claims to be no prep. As in, open it and play. We will test that during our play test.
I can already tell you from experience, the minute it says the GM needs to read all the books, it is not open-ended play.
This one isn't that one.
Okay.
The Devil's Dandy Dogs, or that one over there, that's the one that claims to be no prep. This one obviously requires prep because it tells me, as a GM, you want to look at all of the books in a particular order.
Yeah.
That's prep. All right, so what do we got inside?
So we have the various rule books that I showed you.
Right.
The dice and the cards. I'm not going to go through all of them.
Well, let's get a closer look at those dice real quick.
Oh, sure. We've got a D20.
And that's a pretty big D20 there.
Come on. It doesn't want to focus. Focusing on my hand more.
Move your hand. Oh, there we go. We can see it. Now pile the rest of the dice next to it. That's a die 20. Any special symbols on it?
I don't believe so.
So a normal 20 and normal 1.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you got next? What color is that?
It is red and white.
All right.
Along with that D10. I believe that's a D12.
Looks like one.
8. And suddenly I'm losing focus. A D6. And a D4. We also have these purple ones. These look interesting. Because they're unmarked except for X.
10-sided die with an X on one side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another 10-sided dice with an X on one side.
Okay.
Another 10-sided dice with an X on one side.
We need to start showing our miniatures this way.
Yeah. So 4 D10s with an X on one side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all our dice.
Yeah, that's all our dice.
All right, let's go quickly through. We saw the books. Just show the general shape of the cards. Okay, Revision Act 3 only. So that's probably a spoiler.
Yeah.
What's next? Anything else in there?
The back is off. And the back.
Stealing Stories for the Devil.
Twist cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this looks interesting. I'm looking forward to playing it. Is there anything on the box that says number of players and or age groups?
I'm looking. I'm not seeing.
Try the back.
No 0 to 3.
Well, okay, because we have swallowing hazard here.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm not really seeing anything.
All right. Well, we'll have to review that and see what age group or tier this is more appropriate for. I have a feeling it is for more mature audiences.
I would assume so, considering we're dealing with things like lies.
Well,
Which-
and the devil.
Yeah.
This isn't the same as where Mr. Satan is on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
All right, so Devil's Dandy Dogs. This is a 0 prep, so we don't want to read too much into the rules. But what does the back of the box say?
Let me get to that first real quick.
Or did you already read that?
I did read the back.
Okay.
That one is the one that says 0 prep.
Right, and that we will find out when we finally get around to doing our play tests whether that's true.
Okay, so let's box this up nice and sealed. Did you get any of these for Father's Day?
No, the only one I got for Father's Day is the Spelljammer.
Ah.
My son is playing in that campaign.
So he got them for himself.
Well, they're my minis.
Yeah.
And it is for his benefit, but you know, that's good.
Yeah.
He almost got me a balloon for Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But it was decided that this had a more immediate use.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen that balloon. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not all that central to the plot of Wild Beyond the Witch.
Well, even the fact that you fly in the balloon isn't all that dramatic.
Yeah.
It's not like you need to know the location of the balloon and where somebody tries to shoot it down or anything like that. All right. What do we got here? Dun, 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 dun.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
I literally have no idea what we're going to open up next week till I get new stuff. And some of the stuff I've gotten earlier and just, it's been in my boxes to open up for a long time.
Yeah. Does that mean we have to build a backlog again? What's in the box? There you go.
Okay. What's in the box? Thank goodness we're not doing 7. The game includes the following: Devil Dandy Dog's core rulebook, the Devil's Playbook reference book, the Soul's Arrow, which is the cloth mat. Go ahead and show that mat.
This is nice.
His image only on one side.
Yeah.
Great prop. Stick it on the green. Up, the closer green. There you go. That's a good picture of it. Can you see the arrow coming down on his back? Yeah, yes. I can now. Now that I put my glasses on. All right, there we go. 11 character sheets. 3 devil's dice.
Hold on. Adjusting the camera here. Three dice?
Yep, 3 devil's dice and 1 temptation die.
Okay, so the red ones are the devil's dice. The yellow one is the temptation dice.
Yep, and as you can see, the temptation dice has symbols that need to be translated, and the devil's dice just have the letter D on one side or 2?
D on one side, looks like an L or an I on the other.
Oh, okay. We don't want to know what those mean yet, because that would defeat the no prep idea.
Yeah, and it looks like there's also some cards.
Well, there's several cards. There's the Diviner deck, which has 36 cards. The Temptation cards, which there are 20. Trick cards, 22. And a pack of the pack cards, 13 of which. Then there's 5 Devil Doors cards and 5 Fate's Follies cards.
So I'm assuming that it's in these 2 areas. These 2 packets.
The one with the wolf like that is... I think you already shown the character sheets.
Yeah.
The wolf... I don't have one that corresponds directly to that image. But it might be the trick cards.
Okay. And then on the back...
Okay, well, no, actually, see, the back one, that one right there, when you The one with the leaves is the Fates Follies cards.
Uh-huh.
The one with the crown-like symbol, actually flip that over on its edge. Like that. Yeah, that is the Temptation cards, the one that's on the right hand of the screen.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, the one with the feathers are the Fates Follies cards.
Uh-huh.
And again, those stand up deck-wise, but with the feather on the bottom face up. That's the proper way to view them. But that there is the Fates cards. So we have the Temptation cards, the Fates Folly cards. That one, flip it around the other way. No. The one on your right. That, or the right hand side. Okay. Flip it so you can see the back side.
The back side?
Yep. Flip the whole thing around to
that?
Yeah. So that one there is the Temptation cards.
Uh-huh.
Set that aside. You've already identified that.
Uh-huh.
The one you have there, flip it around. That's the Devil's Door cards. Set that one aside.
Yeah.
Okay. Grab another deck of cards. Show it.
Can't. They're in these two areas. That's why I was looking them behind. You know.
Oh, so inside the decks are the other cards.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I was showing this side as well as that side.
Right, and I can't identify them from those.
Yeah.
If you hold this picture up, it'll show you what the different cards look like. And what the different dice look like. And on the opposite side, it's showing you more of the components.
Okay. So I can tell that this one is the Diviner deck cards.
Okay.
And this is the Temptation cards.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So we got 2 minutes left. Nothing else to unpack?
Yeah. I will say that when we do get to these particular games, we will do Devil's Dandies first. Because it claims to be no prep.
Okay. There we go. Flip these back. Go.
Any last questions or concerns before we shut this thing off?
What are we talking about next week?
Next week, we are following up on the romance section, and we're going to talk about safety tools or the session 0 process. If we don't have other things to talk about, questions that you've asked us, or more important news to talk about, we will continue talking about the 44 rules.
Yep.
We will also do a new Challenge of Champions. It'll be the second one, and we'll give you all the details of that in upcoming, maybe one of our advertisements if we do that. Let all your friends know that we're coming here. Also, we will be doing more unboxing, but I have absolutely no idea. If you want us to unbox one of your products, send it to us. We will. We do know we have one company that wants to do an unboxing with us, and then, but we need to have playtest running because they want to that same week.
Is that the one that's in town?
That's the one in town.
Okay, yeah, I look forward to that. Yeah.
And it's kids RPGs, educational RPGs. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that and finding out in practice and working in this. We need to get our broadcast things where we do our commercials, because I've got people wanting to sign up to be commercial donate things for commercial space. Okay.
Well, as I mentioned, I have some time freeing up, so hopefully we can get that rolling.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We are at 0 seconds, perhaps.
Yep. I believe so.
I want to tell everybody good night, dream well, rpgresearch.com/donate.
Have a good night.